Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you see the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. We'll start with the news, obviously. This was clearly, as long as I've been doing this, the worst loss we've taken as a team, as a fan base. And it's going to be tough to go through this and talk about. There's a lot of things that happened that is frustrating and annoying, and a lot of missed opportunities, which sucks in this game, like almost uncountable amount. And then you combine that with the injuries down the stretch of the season, and if you look at the history of the franchise in recent memory, in modern Dolphins history, a lot, especially through the 2010s, well, for whatever reason, when this team makes the playoffs, they suffer a ton of injuries. I don't know why, but it happens literally every time. So let's get into the news you need to know about. This is news I think everybody knows. It's not, I don't know, big news, if you want to say that. Obviously, a bunch of franchises are looking for new head coaches. Frank Smith's name, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. He's scheduled to interview with some franchises, including the Carolina Panthers. And with Frank leaves, no disrespect to Frank, but he's not that big of an important piece to the team. I think that's fair. Mike clearly designs, even if you watch Hard Knocks and everything everybody else says about him, he designs the game plan and he calls the plays. So he has Frank's job. Frank's job is probably just to help Mike as much as he can in areas that he needs to. I hope Frank finds a job as a head coach. That would be a notch in Mike McDaniel's belt. It would be a big plus to this franchise. I think the last time that's happened was Vance Joseph, who was hired as a head coach off of Adam Gase's staff, of all things. So hopefully that does happen, because it's good to, it's a sign that you're doing something right as an organization. Bad injury news, and I guess that's what we'll talk about now. Andrew Van Ginkel, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. I'm sure everybody knows this, and Jerome Baker are done for the season. We'll start with this because there's other news to talk about in terms of injuries too. I don't want to throw it all in one basket. But Van Ginkel is a devastating loss to a defensive line that is already devastated with injuries. When the game obviously Sunday night, when that game was going on, it affected the way that we called defense, which was really unfortunate. Now, granted, we only gave up 14 points off defensively, but it could have been a lot worse, and we really struggled to make big plays on third down in this game on defense, and our really only answer to get pressure, and we really never, there was a few times where we only rushed 4, but it was kind of disheartening to see this defense have to resort to blitzing everybody, which led to a lot of big plays for the Buffalo offense, unfortunately. And it felt like I was watching Josh Boyer's defense, and it honestly felt like a rerun of last year when we played the Bills. It was like the same concepts, and not the same blitzes, obviously, but it's still a zero-man blitz at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how you send it. And it sucked to watch that, because this is the whole reason we brought Vic in. And it's not Vic's fault. It's just the amount of injuries, he had to do it. And, it just hurt to watch. So that's kind of where the Dolphins are right now, matchup-wise. And maybe if we had Xavier Howard against the Bills, then that plan would have worked a lot better. But it didn't. And Cater Co, who is another guy we're going to talk about later. But, again, it just kind of felt like a rerun of last year, unfortunately. And we couldn't really disguise things and rush 4. If we had Phillips and Bradley, even Van Ginkel was hurt for the rest of the game. It would have been a different game plan. I think we would have matched up better with them, and we could have done a lot more on third downs, and we just got super simple on third downs, and it just is what it is. And they took advantage of a lot of matchups. And then Jerome Baker, the loss for Jerome, has been felt severely. Duke Riley has been terrible. That's one of the bigger reasons why we've given up points is Duke Riley. He's been awful. Absolutely terrible. Clearly teams who watch film, and this is a huge need for this team going into the offseason, is finding a middle linebacker. Especially Vic. Hopefully, why would he not come back? But if he didn't, that would be hard. That would be devastating. But if Vic comes back, he clearly needs a middle linebacker. If that happens, if we get a high quality guy in the middle, I think that it could elevate the defense to even greater heights. I think that's really the last piece of the defense is a middle linebacker. So we'll see, because even the safety opposite Holland, he doesn't need to be great. He could just be serviceable, and the defense could still be at a very high level. But that middle player, he's put in so many situations where he has to make a play. And somebody with great feel and great instincts and great athletic ability, if he's put in those situations, he can make big plays in this defense. But there's nobody really like that right now. And they kind of just get exposed in zone coverage a lot of the time, or they get exposed in man coverage because obviously their coverage skills aren't great. And Duke Riley is literally the bottom of the barrel when it comes to that. It would have been nice to see Jerome develop in this defense as the season went on. Clearly that can't happen either. But it'll be interesting to see if they go out and get someone to kind of, there's a lot of really good free agent middle linebackers this year. So we'll see what they end up doing in that position. But that clearly needs to be addressed. It's been an issue all season long. But again, Van Ginkel, Jerome out. There's more updates on injuries. Xavier Howard is clear. He's not been officially ruled out of Saturday's game, but he's been graded as doubtful, and which hurts. I think Eli Apple's played better than a lot of us, even though he still has given up big plays. The last 2 weeks, he had probably his best game against Buffalo last night, which is great. But he's had moments where he's still Eli Apple, but he's played okay. He's not better than Xavier Howard, but it is what it is. I don't know what else to say. To talk about the cornerback room, we'll probably save it for when we break down the game. But they do miss X's presence. Obviously, he's still a shutdown corner. And I hope maybe by some miracle he can play in Saturday's game. For the news, we've got one more news story which I think is relevant. This comes from Cameron Wolfe. The Miami Dolphin locker room was reportedly dead silent after the loss against Buffalo, which is honestly, when I read this for the first time, I'm like, yeah, why? What else would you expect? It's kind of a stupid statement. I'm sure it was silent after the dang loss. It was an awful loss to take as a fan, and I'm sure it was just, as bad for them. And, we have a lot of people that care on that team, which is one of the reasons I love it so much. This particular team is, it's the best Dolphins team we've had in many years. They won 11 games. They're still a great team. And, it sucks that they lost the game the way they lost it. And it's a good thing that everybody shook it out, but they still can win a playoff game against the Chiefs. I think they match up with the Chiefs very well. So that's a good thing. The only problem is, to be honest with you, is the defensive line. That's really the only thing I'm worried about. But in terms of matchups, offensively, the fact that they're getting healthy, it's messed up. The offense is probably the healthiest it's been. We just need a little bit of Vic Fangio magic. And I think we can do that against an offense like the Chiefs that isn't very good. So I'm excited for this game. It sucks that we lost that game the way that we did. And I'm sure the players are hurt. In the report, there's some optimism in the building. Mike is the most, optimistic dude on the planet. They need that right now. and hopefully he can get him ready for this game. But yeah, the injuries have just been crazy. It's going to be awesome. I'm very excited for this game, though. Despite everything, and the AFC's championship and a home, that's all I wanted all season. Especially the AFC's championship would have been awesome. Looking back on the regular season and thinking about, looking back on the season in general, I think the Titans game is going to be the one that people. This game and the Titans game were the worst losses of the season. Wherever you want to rank them, you can rank them. But probably the Titans one's the worst. It's kind of, it hurts to even look back on it. But, there's a lot to look forward to with this team. Which makes this offseason, and hopefully we can still win some playoff games and do some damage in the playoffs. I really hope so. Because they still have things, especially with the offense getting healthy, they have a shot to do that, which is a good thing. Especially with the offensive line healthier, which you could even see in this game. I mean, the Bills couldn't really get to Tua. That was like the best pass protection we've had against Buffalo in years, dude. I was so proud of the offensive line. I mean, even Chris Collinsworth was saying it as he was watching the game. It was a noticeable difference, even from this year to now, from the last game we played him. And that's really been the issue when we've played him, is like protecting Tua. And the fact that we nullified that was pretty awesome. And that's sustainable moving forward, playing them in the division with the tackles that we have. So, which is a good thing. So let's get into this game. And I think we'll start with the offensive side of the football. I want to get some positives, which probably is the main positive. Devon Achane clearly is the third superstar of the trio that Tua has to deal to. I think he's going to have a phenomenal career, obviously. He's a special player. He's way better than I ever thought he'd be. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have even taken him. He's such a good football player, and he shined in this game. And I thought that we went away from him too much. I know he's a smaller dude, but every time Jeff Wilson was on the field, and he, to be honest with you, Achane almost only had 10 carries. How many did Jeff Wilson had? 9, which is ridiculous, even though he averaged 5 yards a carry. There were plays in there where I was like, oh, Achane probably could have scored or got 15, 30, 20 more yards on that than Jeff did. It's weird that we didn't feed him more in that game. Even involving him in the game plan more in terms of like screens and I hope to God I'm not missing anything. Well, I'll check it after we break down the game. I don't think Achane ever got hurt in that game, but yeah, he looked great. I mean, that run he had for the touchdown, I mean, dude, I almost ran through the wall. So it's good moving forward that we have someone like that. It was a home run by Chris Greer, and he's going to be a great player for a long time. So let's get into the negatives of this game. First of all, there's a lot of things frustrating about this game looking back on it. Number one is that I don't know why in the second half, we had so many opportunities to win this game, especially in the second half. To go to halftime up a touchdown. I believe in the fourth quarter we were up a touchdown as well. And to not score, and capitalize on that was literally heartbreaking. I mean, it was so hard to watch. I mean, even at the end of the game, we had a chance to tie it after a phenomenal stop by the defense. And I was disappointed that we didn't go to Tyreek Hill more and force the ball to him. I don't really know why that is. Now, there's a couple different reasons why you could speculate that. I thought we, especially on first and second down, I thought we should have thrown the ball more. And some of those, because it's when their DBs were hurt, we have a player who's one of the greatest deep threats of all time. Listen, if Tua threw 3 or 4 more interceptions on some of those, then fine. But to not give him the ball more in that second half was a mistake. And granted, he didn't capitalize on some of the opportunities that he did have. He dropped 2 really big passes. One probably would have went for a touchdown. Tua missed him on a throw that probably would have went for at least a huge gain, if not a touchdown. The one where it was thrown low and it was reversed. That should have been a very big play, and we missed it. That's 3 plays in the second half that would have been huge plays in the game, and who knows if they would have scored a touchdown on them, and they just didn't. But with their secondary, like it was, I mean, even the play where Tua threw the interception, he wasn't on the field. Tyreek Hill wasn't on the field, which is just very, very disappointing. But I don't know. When you look back, like I say that we should have fed Tyreek Hill more in those moments, but then when you actually look back on the game and break it down, we did. We couldn't hit him for whatever. I mean, even in the first quarter, the interception that Tua threw, that was a terribly thrown ball. For whatever reasons, our best players didn't show up to play in this game, other than Devon Achane. I don't know why Tyreek Hill had his worst game of his Dolphins career and the biggest game of his Dolphins career. And then Tua had his worst game as a Dolphin. I honestly think this is his worst one that he's ever had. Because it's the magnitude of the game, the opportunities that were there, that were missed. Now, granted, he made nice throws in this game. You know, both of the throws that Tyreek Hill dropped should have been caught. They were perfectly thrown, especially the one on third down. That was kind of a back shoulder. I mean, he threw that literally just by... That was pure instincts and anticipate. That ball probably should never have been thrown there. But Tyreek Hill's got to come down with that. And, that's one of the more frustrating things about the game is that those guys didn't show up. And they played terrible. Honest to God, I don't know why and one of the worst things is the interception was on second down. It was just a really bad mistake by Tua. It sucks that Reek wasn't on the field for that play. And again, when I say that Reek should have gotten more looks, it's really just the runs that we had that on first and second down that were frustrating, especially with their corners out. Even Mike McDaniel, I think it was Mike said it after the game, you know, they played a lot more single high. It's like, well, dang, if they were playing single high with those corners, you would think we would have, you know, more opportunities on the outside. And we just really never did that as much as I thought we should have. And when we did, we didn't make the plays. So it was an all-around team effort. I don't think Mike's game plan was bad either. This is the weird thing. Like, I don't actually blame this one on Mike. It really was the players' fault. Tua had his worst game. Tyreek Hill had his worst game. And it's weird that throw... I don't know if that throw in the first quarter made them get away from some of that stuff that Tua made. Like, I don't know why it would. Tua can throw the ball deep down the field at a very high level. The fact that he underthrew that ball as much as he did was weird. I don't know why he did. I mean, he's made farther throws than that throughout his career. So he just had an awful, awful game. The good news is, when we did get the ball back in the end of the game, I really did think we were going to score. Like, I did have that belief in this offense and that's never been something as a Dolphins fan that's ever crossed my mind in recent memory. Like, oh, we're going to score here. I had confidence that we're going to score. And we didn't. He ends up throwing just one of the most heartbreaking, the most heartbreaking interception. Just absolutely gut-wrenching. But yeah, I think that's really what happened. I mean, our best players didn't play well. I think another glaring issue, especially in the passing game, if this team doesn't have Tyreek or Tua on the field, or Tyreek or Waddle on the field, it is really bad. And that's one of the reasons. And, Berrios has not been as good as we thought he'd be. He's been pretty bad. River Craycraft has never really been the same ever since he's come back from that injury. Claypool is just Chase Claypool. He actually is just bad. It's not because of whatever the issue, excuses he's had. So they need a third receiver really bad. And it was very evident in this game that they needed a third receiver. Cedric Wilson has just been disappointing ever since he got here. So, and honestly, he's been the best third option in the passing game all year. Him and probably Durham Smythe are tied, which is sad to say, but I mean, dang, man. It's like, if you go back and even look at the pick where Tua threw that interception on the corner out, there was no one open. It hurts because it was on second down. Now, granted, it would have been a 3rd and 10, but you still have 2 more plays, and hopefully Tyreek Hill comes back onto the field. Another issue, I think, is that The receivers sometimes are too short. It'd be nice to get someone who's a bigger body who can play in the slot, especially in the red zone. That would be huge for this team. Because even when teams play two deep safeties and you try to fit a ball in on the sideline, it's almost impossible because they're too short. So that's something that they need to look into. It's just getting someone who has a different skill set and can come in and do different things. Maybe Ezukama's that guy because he was trending in the right direction. Unfortunately, he ends up getting injured. But maybe that's in the draft. Like, if they took one in the first round, because they have their tackles. If they took one in the first round, I wouldn't be mad at them. And maybe add depth in the interior offensive line later on because of the injuries that they've dealt with. People even forget Isaiah Wynn, who was on this team. So that is a clear, two glaring needs. I think this team is middle linebacker and a third player, whether it's a tight end or a receiver in the draft. Maybe Bowers, maybe they put something together and trade up to go get him. But Tua is a pocket passing quarterback. So you have to surround him with people that can get open or the offense isn't going to work. And Peyton Manning had every pocket passer in the history of the league, unless you're Dan Marino, had a Hall of Fame guy to catch passes from him. Multiple. I mean, you think about Reggie Wayne. I mean, Dallas Clark was a Pro Bowler, not a Hall of Famer, but a Pro Bowler. So they need a third option in this offense really, really bad to help Tua out, who I still think is an elite player for his style, and he can't. Now, granted, he had an awful game in this game. I don't think that's how Tua, not a reflection of the player that he is, though. So, yeah, I think those are two huge needs for this team moving forward. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball. Now, there's a few things that happened, and hopefully this stuff gets addressed in this week because obviously it needs to. But for whatever reason is the best thing I can say, the last 2 weeks, clearly the Bills watched the Ravens film and ran that same play that the Ravens ran on us multiple times in the game for 2 touchdowns that they ran it for. And it was obviously the Bills hit some very big plays off of it in this game as well. Especially when Shakir, which set up a touchdown in the second half to take the lead. For whatever reason, there's serious communication issues on the back end. Teams keep running these weird wheel routes on us. And this game, at least we adjusted to get Duke Riley out of there. And for whatever reason, they can't communicate it right. And it just continues to be a big play for teams that we play against. And it showed up in this game again. So that has to be fixed. That was really annoying watching that. It was also annoying, like I said earlier in the show, that we kept blitzing like we did. Because it just felt like the same thing that we did last year against Buffalo. Now, it did work sometimes. And then most of the times it didn't. If Josh Allen was more accurate down the field, because he had a really bad game in this game as well, which makes it even worse that we didn't win it. I mean, he was missing people the Stephon Diggs play, there were people open pretty much every time we blitzed. Wide open. Cater Kohu played about as bad as you can. And for whatever reason, every time we've played Buffalo, Cater has had bad games, really bad games. His season actually has been worse than his rookie season. He's played really bad. I don't know what they're going to do with him moving forward, but if they replace him with a veteran guy, I wouldn't be surprised. And I hate saying that about him, but he's had a bad season. I mean, it is what it is. He hasn't made very many plays, hasn't gotten many turnovers, hasn't gotten that many PBUs. He's made some nice open field tackles. That's about it. He's played pretty bad all year. So, that he's definitely, to me, with all the healthy starters at least, he's been not only the most disappointing, but I think the worst player. So, he was disappointing again in this game. Jalen Ramsey played phenomenal. What else did I want to say? The run defense was great. The Christian Wilkins play, absolutely. I can't even think about it. It was one of the best Dolphins plays I've ever seen in my life, and we didn't capitalize on it. It was such a big play in the game, and the defense made really big plays in this game. I mean, tackling them short of the goal line, and it ran out of just a lot of gut. And again, people forget. I mean, I don't know if people forget, but Buffalo has one of the best offenses in the league. Shakir went for 105. I don't. Well, for whatever reason we play Shakir, he has big games, but again, Kader Kohu, but and again, a lot of that is because we have to put them in bad situations. And again, thank God we drafted Cam Smith. Maybe he's the future of that position, but it sucks we had to blitz as much as we did. It really does. Is there anything else I want to say defensively? Other than the stupid wheel route stuff that we did not get corrected over the week. Other than that, there was really nothing else to say or to talk about, really. But yeah, the Bills playmaker, I mean, all three of them went for big yardage with Kincaid, Diggs, and Shakir. They all had really good stats, and again, we need another option. And not having Waddle in this game was a big deal, clearly, especially in key moments. It just really put a lot more pressure on Tyreek, and nobody else really relieved that pressure from him. So hopefully in the Kansas City game, obviously Mostert and Waddle are trending in the right direction. They apparently could have played in this game, which don't even tell me that. But they're like, oh, we wanted to. They could have easily re-injured them. So it's like, dude, I understand that. I understand they could have re-injured themselves. Maybe put them on a snap count plan, but having them and not having them is like a galaxy apart. Like maybe Waddle has 10 snaps, or he only comes in on big moments. But if he's healthy enough to play, he has to play. That was really hard to read after this game. And again, it sucks. Every time we go into one of these big games, our players don't play. Our best players don't play. The players that matter don't play. And it hurt, like every single dang time. Every time, dude. Whether it's Skylar Thompson has to play major, snaps in games, or Teddy Bridgewater has to play major snaps in games, or the only playmakers that we have as a receiver is Tyreek Hill in a game. I mean, Tyreek Hill was the only guy who could make a play in this game as a receiver. And it sucks. It was hard to watch. In the biggest game of the year, we weren't where we needed to be. And at the very least, it would have been nice to play them with our best shot for once. And we couldn't even have that, go our way. So, and not to mention the fact Tua and Hill play their worst game of the year. It's all of that, the combination of all of those things. People have been bringing up but they had this big of a lead in the division. Dude, first of all, the Bills. Looking back on it, I mean, you want to talk about it. I mean, it was a really tough schedule anyway. For whatever reason, the Bills always have easier December schedules, or the last 3 or 4 weeks of the year. Now, granted, they did beat some good teams to get to where they were. That doesn't really bother me. It's like, we had every opportunity to still win the division. Even in this game. This game bothers me for sure. This particular game bothers me because of all of those reasons. I'm hoping that Tua and the boys can bounce back against the Chiefs, even though their defense is good. But at least the offense is going to be healthy, and the offensive line is going to be healthy. And they're really starting to play well together. And hopefully they just play really well, is what I'm really hoping for. It hurts that, and dude, Jeff Wilson cannot come back. I'm sorry. God bless him. But dude, he's just not very good. He really is just not very good. And we need to... It sucks. Obviously, Cook went to Baltimore. But he's just not very good. They need a tight end or a third option at receiver. Because the other guys are just below average. And it showed up in all of these games. So that's it. It sucks. It hurts. It is all of those things. To have the opportunity to win the division and be that close, it just hurts. But we have another opportunity, and that's win a playoff game for the first time in 20 plus years. So I'm excited for that. I'm super hyped up for the game. Like I said, I think we match up well with them, which is good. And I think the offense coming back is a big deal. And we have Mike McDaniels, our head coach. We still have Tua as our quarterback. I know a lot of people are pointing out, well, he's never had a good game or a big game in big moments. And in context, which we're not going to go through all of those games, but who knows what would have happened last night if Tyreek Hill made those plays, or if Tua made two bad plays, which the interception and the throw that he missed to Hill. Those were really his bad plays of the game. Outside of that, I mean, Jesus, dude, you want to talk about? We just couldn't get open, and then Tyreek just has to come down with those plays. So that's it. I still, again, not to leave it on a negative note, but we still have an opportunity next week. It's playoff football. We haven't had many of those Saturdays or Sundays as fans, so enjoy it. Root hard for the team. I'm feeling good about this because the Chiefs are playing really bad football right now, and they're not that great. So, maybe this is the game where this is the moment for the fans and the moment for the franchise, and I hope it is. And because we deserve it as fans, we deserve it. I think we do. And maybe this is our game. Maybe this is the moment for the team and the franchise and the fan base. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.